Good afternoon and welcome to our last CIO Story session for today and for the first virtual symposium we had. During today's keynote, we have explored with Dr. Julia Shaw the darker side of technology. But we also had the chance to think about how we can leverage technology to overcome some of the greatest threats in today's society. With our last CIO story today, we will jump back to the impact of digital transformation and specifically in how this can be used to accelerate the adoption of sustainable solutions and in solving complex energy sustainability challenges. Darren Martin is our speaker today. He's an innovative business technology leader. Darren is currently the group CTO at Wood PLC, a projects, operations, and consultancy company in the energy and build and environment markets. There, he's accountable for identifying, but also incubating, accelerating, and scaling digital and technology innovation programs through a more connected and a sustainable world in the energy and build environment markets. Please welcome our speaker today, Darren Martin.
Thank you, Alessandro. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to share my CTO story with you, focusing on unlocking solutions to the world's most critical challenges. Before we get into that, I thought I'd share a little bit about me. I originally trained as a clinical psychologist, looking after people that are really quite critically ill. I focused on group dynamics and trained in cognitive behavioral therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. And that enabled me to work with quite big groups of people, knowing each individual challenge that each patient had or each client had, but then making crucial steps to link those people together in ways that allowed them to help one another and empowered them to get better faster. And in some ways, I've taken the learnings of that from early on in my career into my professional career as a technologist and as the CTO. For me, it's really important that we help people overcome the fear of change and that we bring the best teaming skills and the best diversity of thought that we can in order to overcome diversity and adversity. So for me, that's been quite an interesting grounding and a set of skills that I'm able to take going forward. I don't necessarily psychoanalyze people to death, but I certainly have insight as to what may be a barrier to change and try and unlock that through the connection of people. As a CTO as well, I don't see myself as the custodian of all the good ideas. I may have the odd good idea from time to time, but my job is really about identifying potential ideas, testing them quickly, validating them, funding them, shining a light on them, and potentially accelerating to them to the point that we either realize that we've reached a dead end or hopefully that they have some significant value and that they can unlock and solve challenges either at a local level or at quite a significant level. We'll be talking about that. I live in the Lake District in the UK, and it's a rather hilly, challenging environment. And for fun at the weekends, I like to ride up some of our steepest mountain passes, some of which are 25 or 30 degrees inclines. And I tend to kind of think that by doing that for fun as my pastimes, it helps prepare me for some of the challenges I encounter in trying to make change land and trying to innovate, sometimes when it's not always easy to do so, and there are lots of reasons and barriers that one's face. It's really important to be resilient, and so I think this gives me good training at the weekend to take that resilience into my day job. The dog with two tails is really about my mantra in that I have always been passionate to make sure technology isn't just used for the sake of it. We're not just playing with cool toys, but we're not the tail that's wagging the dog here. We're very clear on the mission, the purpose that we are focused on, the business problems that we're trying to solve. And it's important to adopt the right technologies to achieve that business mission rather than just using technology for the sake of it. And obviously, not least of all because of COVID, our world is changing faster than ever. The rate of change, the rate of disruption happening to the world is significantly increasing in pace. And our ability and our need to absorb that change and be agile and adapt to that change has never been more important. Generations in the future will probably look back and think that our rate of change was relatively slow. But as our generation is at the cusp of that, and the generations that fall behind us, we have to pioneer and overcome this speed of momentum that we're working through. And really, to emphasize this, I often refer to The Economist, and so we're seeing that the world's most valuable assets are moving away from precious metals and oil, in this case, to data. We've already seen a fast transition from carbon-based vehicles towards electrification, and that will only continue. We've seen companies really have to pivot and change quickly and reinvent themselves numerous times now to stay relevant. We know that artificial intelligence, we know that robotics will continue to have an ever-increasing impact on society, on the jobs that we currently do and the jobs that we're going to do in the future. And as we connect more and more of our assets, as the Internet of Things moves the technology domain from just the corporate environment to the physical environment, whether it be buildings, water networks, agriculture networks, the ability for potential terrorist action to impact a much bigger scale, whether it be a dam affecting trams and trains and so on, the ability to hack into a much bigger area has now been opened up with the advent of Industry 4.0. And it's important to understand how to lock that threat down as best as possible and not to open up too many portals and doors to what could be potentially really big impacts on safety. The future of learning, the way people learn, and the way that we need to adapt and absorb information is ever changing. And I like to use Netflix as a really good example of disruption in the film industry. And we've now got an organization that can deliver films. It can produce films in a closed loop environment and control much of that supply chain, and in turn commercialize so much more of that to the bottom line, to a profitable position. And that's really starting to impact many other industries, and other industries are being transformed in that way. So, from this perspective, we have an introduction here for the company I work for, Wood. Wood is a consulting, projects and operations business. It's focused on the energy and built environment markets. It has more than 45,000 inquisitive minds. And it's on a quest to unlock digitally enabled solutions to the world's most critical challenges. We as a company are evolving constantly. We started off as a small fishing vessel business in the North Sea, and have evolved to around a $10 billion organization. If I go back 6 or 7 years ago, a significant proportion of our revenues were aligned to oil and gas, upstream oil and gas specifically. About 95% of our revenues came from these sources. And over time, not only have we significantly grown, but we've been able to pivot and adapt and broaden into different markets. At this point in time, around 25% of our revenues are associated with renewable sources, so wind turbine, carbon reduction and hydrogen, for example. We've put down around 5 million solar panels in the Americas alone. We've pivoted our business also towards downstream revenue sources in petrochemicals. And in the built environment, we're very much focused on city resilience, environmental responses, and supporting major diversified industries such as pharmaceutical companies, which during this COVID crisis, one can imagine that they're performing a vital role in society. So as a result of that, I would say that we have a strong track record of successful evolution. But what we've really focused on from a technology perspective is just making sure we're adopting the right technologies, and that what we can deliver is what we refer to as future ready now. So we're aware of the maturity of the technologies and bringing them on at the right time in the life cycle to drive meaning in our business. Our focus areas, along with growing and preserving our carbon-based heritage, is really therefore focused on bringing some of our original clients on that energy transition journey faster in a more purposeful way, but also effectively looking more at what we can do around sustainable infrastructure and resiliency. So, we see climate change having a huge impact on cities, not just in developed nations, but in developing nations where water scarcity then flips to extreme weather conditions. And getting a sustainable society set up in both developed and developing nations is a real key focus for us as an organization. To give you a sense of what this looks like, I would like to show you this video, and it gives you a sense of some of the day-to-day challenges that we're dealing with and some of the solutions we're unlocking for our clients.
We are living in advanced times. Technology is rapidly evolving, changing the world around us in ways we never thought possible. What was once only found in science fiction is now a reality, and what many believe is impossible, we believe it's only a matter of time. At Wood, we're embracing the surge of change, going with the flow of data, and solving challenges by using, blending, and developing the latest technologies, united by our ingenuity. As new economies emerge, as cities expand, as the energy mix evolves, fueling new journeys, Wood will be driving the change, helping our customers to reach the best solutions. How do we know this? Because we're already there. Whether it's harnessing the power of disruptive technologies, or creating innovative technical and commercial solutions from scratch, our unique know-how in collaboration with our customers and specialist partners means we can solve industry's biggest challenges. We're innovating in the harshest environments on Earth, from deserts to nuclear reactors, so that one day we can operate in the harshest environments elsewhere. We're bringing new energy to the world, from controlling and optimizing wind and solar farms to reducing operational expenditure and maximizing uptime on oil and gas assets. We're allowing ships to safely take on more natural resources with less environmental risk. And we're mapping digital twins across assets and infrastructure to optimize flow, detect leaks, and even improve security of supply. We're enhancing workflow at every stage with connected systems across design, construction, and operations, improving integration and mobility with digitalization and extended reality. We're keeping people safe by keeping them connected, wherever they may be, protecting lives with some of the most advanced weather warning systems on the planet. We're doing all these things and more, all over the world, because with technology and ingenuity, anything is possible.
So, in addition to, I guess, working with some pretty interesting operational challenges out there in the real world, I wanted to give you a sense of what this means from a goals and objectives perspective. For Wood, it's really important to ensure we're using technology to position, win, and deliver the right sort of work for our future success as an organization. And we as an organization have worked in an industry where a lot of the work that we do is reimbursable. Around 4 out of 5 of the contracts that we engage in historically have been reimbursable. We are on a journey where we are purposefully seeking more profitable fixed price deals, but also driving innovation into our customers so that we can do things faster, smarter, and they have to pay less, but potentially we make a little more along the way. And that helps us differentiate against some of our competitors. And more importantly, we're also looking at ways of partnering with our client to really bring innovative ideas to solving some of their problems. And where possible, looking for an equitable way to share the success of that innovation. And so it isn't just transactional, which has been one of the characteristics of our industry. So, as I mentioned, Wood itself is just under around 10 billion in terms of FY19 turnover level. And at a profitability level, we made 855 million profit at EBITDA level. But if we were to use technology more effectively across our whole organization, a simple 1% efficiency across the whole of Wood would drive out an additional EBITDA contribution of around 100 million. As a people-based organization, as a services-based organization, that's around the equivalent of 10,000 people earning fees in our organization. And so as I engaged with our leadership team and as I engaged with our board, it's quite provocative in terms of challenging ourselves in terms of what we were innovating and what we hadn't yet innovated, and establishing an ambition for how many unique 1% across our organization that we should be aiming for. And how do we translate that efficiency to value? If we're doing things faster and smarter, but a lot of our contracts are based on hours, all we do is cannibalize our revenue. We don't necessarily translate that to value. And one of our challenges as an organization is influencing our clients and our own people to pursue value rather than top-line revenues. Along with the way that we provide services internally and the efficiencies that we can drive, we're fortunate to have some of the largest companies in the world as our preferred clients that spend a lot of time and money with us. At our top client level, our key and strategic client level, the smallest client in that envelope is around 40 billion, and the largest one is around 280 billion in turnover. And you can imagine that each 1% efficiency in their organization would mean a huge amount to them. What we're doing more and more with key and strategic clients is identifying how can technology help take forward some advantage for them, and how can we begin a dialogue with that client where we can take a new approach to commercial acumen to have a more mutually beneficial approach to sharing in that value. Now, it doesn't mean we want to do gain shares with everyone. They come with their own investment profile and they come with their own risks. But having the right mix and balance of investment, innovation, and outcome is a really important aspect of our future direction and strategy, particularly with regard to technology enablement. So how do we get to measures of success? We're focused on two key metrics. One of them is around internal delivery efficiency. So how do we deliver services to our clients in a more efficient way? And where possible, how can we use technology like AI, robotics, and automation to streamline some of those repetitive tasks and make that more efficient, and then seek the right commercial models to execute that work with clients. In addition to that, there are a number of differentiated services from a technology perspective that we are creating, and we're co-creating with partners, where we believe these are important growth markets, and we will continue to offer those services through things like the Microsoft Marketplace to drive software as a service type revenues, which we see to have a higher margin and annuity-based business that we're very interested in. So overall, we've encompassed this in an overarching strategy. And so as a company, we deal with the physical world. So you can see at the top, we may be involved in wind turbines, solar panels, offshore platforms, city infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, pharmaceutical plants, and so on. But underpinning that is the reverse, the digital twin. How do we represent the physical world at a digital level? How do we use digital to accelerate the build cycle? How do we build faster? How do we reduce schedule delays? How do we enhance planning applications and build support in communities for some of these critical infrastructure investments? And then through to the build and operate phases, how do we use technology to build more safely, faster, and more efficiently? And then particularly for our clients who typically own these assets, how do we help our clients run and operate those assets at lower cost in a more autonomous, safer way? And when we look at the assets that we design, some of them are in the billions. And around 20% of the investment is upfront in designing and constructing those assets. But these assets are likely to be around for decades. And around 80% of the total cost for these assets is liquidated during the operational phase and the decommissioning phase of those assets. And it's really important that we create and help optimize existing assets to be as sustainable as possible, and that we are helping to run and operate those assets in the most efficient way. Underpinning that, we created a collab design thinking innovation experience. We had to do some work around commercial innovation. And whilst, yes, I am the CTO, it was really clear that we needed to help the broader organization think about how technology enablement and commercial innovation need to go together. And we've made some really good successes in that area. We've focused very much on digital twin, but not just at the design level, but at the full asset lifecycle, as I've just explained. We have around 13,500 field services operatives, and it's really important to make sure that we're getting the best out of those trade skillcraft professionals, particularly in developing nations where some of the skills are not as prevalent as our clients would like, and that there is a certain demographic that's retiring, and some of the skill sets coming forward perhaps don't have all of the skills that they need as well versed as possible. So it's important to connect and upskill the blue collar workers as quickly as possible so that they're effective and safe out in the field. And then beyond that, we've done some work in our organization to look at how we integrate and consolidate our systems. We're an organization that's grown through acquisition, around 70 different organizations brought together over time. And as part of that, there have been some challenges around disparate systems. And whilst our corporate systems, the standardization on Oracle and so on, has gone very well, and that's moved forward and standardized a lot of our back office processes, a lot of the front office processes, the way that we deliver work to our clients, has been very heterogeneous. There's been a lot of diversity. And so part of my job is helping to guide and standardize on a new way of working that sets us up both for sustainable infrastructure and energy transition, but also allows us to deliver a lot of the core work that we've had for a long time around oil and gas at the design, build, and operate level. Overcoming challenges is a key requirement for any CIO or CTO. Our organization was no tougher or worse than any other organization, but essentially it came with its own challenges. Our organization, the Wood organization, has made a really good job of acquiring businesses and assimilating them. But it hasn't necessarily had to innovate and grow and develop things organically at such a significant level as we needed to for our digital transformation. So the CTO at Wood was a new role that the board and the CEO introduced just over 2 years ago. And I'm the first CTO for the company. And initially, there wasn't a natural home. In fact, I've just moved, I think it's my third move in just over 2 years, now working for the Chief Operating Officer. And in some ways, everyone had a stake on technology. Everyone had a stake on digital. Our consulting organization has great digital expertise. Our IT department have done a fantastic job during the COVID crisis, and obviously have been able to run and maintain a lot of the design tools and construction tools that we've been using for over a decade. And our engineering expertise in using those tools to develop and create really interesting assets is a great feature of our organization. Also, our consulting model is more of a seller-doer model historically. So some of the innovation has been great, but it hasn't necessarily been treated like a business in its own right. So we are often quite successful at a certain point, but as long as the consultants have been busy using that technology and they grow around 10%, that seems to have met an expectation. But my own background in having developed solutions and then sold them at scale globally made me realize that there was a lot more that we could be doing as an organization to increase our profitability and drive solutions that made a difference across a much larger proportion of our customer base. We have 3 CEOs and they all have different ways of working and they all have different requirements. And so it's been quite a challenge to get into the headspace of each one and make sure my organization, which I've had to build over the last 2 years, is tuned into what they need. And sometimes what they need isn't necessarily humbly what I think as a CTO they actually need. And in some ways, the way that we're delivering it for them in 3 different ways isn't also the most efficient. And we're on that journey. I feel like we're making some really great, successful steps in that area, but it hasn't always been easy. What's been really important is to be authentic and build rapport and trust bit by bit with the board. The chairman was particularly supportive when I joined. The non-exec directs, we have a technology champion and a wider network of NEDs. And, through that process, it's actually helped me develop an appreciation for the NED role. And I'm looking forward to being a NED as well, which is something my organization is supporting. It's been really important to get the executive leadership team, not just the NEDs and the board behind this. And then below that, the people that are really driving P&L and own a lot of the resources that I need. Getting key P&L owners to support the digital transformation has been a challenge. And I focus on those that I think have been most receptive to change to get demonstrable results first. So the model really, is about bringing the business and the IT agenda together. I've always said that demand will occur at the edge of our organization. The people that we have, our 45,000 inquisitive minds, are in tune with what clients need. In some cases, they want to consume really good and innovative offerings that my organization can provide to their customers. In other cases, they may have already developed something in their spare time during the day job that is great, but it's locked in. It's what I would refer to as some digital dabbling. And whilst it's brilliant and they're very protective and they've nurtured this, there's an opportunity to either see if the same approach can be used to scale and benefit more clients, or whether we take that original concept but re-platform it to a more robust industrial level and bring it to life at a larger scale. So the center, as it were, is about bringing the capability and the expertise to accelerate that journey in a sustainable, safe, and profitable way. And as our organization changes, as many organizations are changing, we're seeing a different mix of digital natives and millennials join our organization. And I see that over time, that intrinsically digital awareness that will be increasing in our organization is a resource that we can really harness and bring to bear for our future success. So, we've been preparing for a new reality. I don't think anyone anticipated the impact that COVID would have on the world, but in some ways it's just accentuated the imperative to change in our own organization, our own resolve to change faster. The hurdles that one encounters were the same that I encountered. The pandemic's had some benefits, but a lot of challenges have been overcome in the last few months. I've mentioned our challenge around commercials, which isn't unique out there, but it was a particular barrier to innovation. DNA, the culture of the organization, we come from an engineering background. And so some of the agility in thinking and some of the ability to fail and be prepared to fail is something we've had to nurture over time. Having a really bold vision was important. Sometimes the language, as we've been more focused with our clients on more of a digital language, that hasn't always connected with some of our people internally. We've struggled in some cases to put square pegs in round holes. Our organization is complex. Sometimes it's felt easier to put somebody into a digital role, because they know the organization, they know our customers. And in some cases it's been amazing, but in other cases I would say we continue to need to have more outside-in thinking and different experiences in our organization. Quite often, digital is perceived as someone else's problem. And as a CTO, a lot of the outcomes that our organization seeks from digital seem to reside with me as a CTO only. Now, I do a lot of challenge to push back on that. And I feel that we are moving significantly forward in that direction, but still lack of ownership and an understanding of what we all need to do at a commercial level, at a sales level, an operational level to make this significant digital transformation. That's still a work in progress. Some of the tribal behaviors are prevalent in many organizations, but I think we've been quite successful of linking different tribes together and realize that together we're more successful. And as I mentioned, some of the world-class solutions that we have are no longer unique, and we need to be really quite critical about what we do going forward and nurture and love those things that are unique and remain unique, or create new unique things. So part of our journey was around me signaling the journey ahead. It was really important for all of our people to collaborate, be authentic and share ideas first. We needed to create a sense of investment and innovation in our organization. And where possible, it wasn't always easy because people were dealing with some pretty robust challenge, was to establish good followership whilst changing the mix of ideas and people that are contributing to those ideas. Now, we got there by creating a sense of courageousness, fun and resilience and pace. We're focused on solving our clients and our own biggest problems, and that helped galvanize people in a more collegiate way. Our industry in the oil and gas has dealt with downturns and effectively had to grow and shrink really quite fast in the past over oil price changes. So as I joined the organization, they just got over a downturn. And as I tried to enthuse the organization around a bold vision for digital, it was a bit like convincing people that had just gone through a famine to go open up a Michelin star restaurant with the endeavor of achieving higher margins. And in the beginning, some people found it really hard to believe that. But overall, I think we've made that journey together, and some of the results are really starting to show. And throughout the process, it's been important to focus on the numbers, the return on investment. We're starting to really unlock some challenging solutions. The environmental focus is an important one. Microsoft have announced a target by 2030 to go to a carbon negative position, not just carbon zero, where they have the same carbon footprint that they started out with as a brand new company in 1975. We are partnering with Microsoft to help them achieve that goal, but also together working with our existing clients that we both share and new clients, particularly in the energy and built environment, to create a range of sustainability-focused innovative tools with Microsoft that will help clients drive down their carbon footprint. The first of which is Wood Envision. This is an environmental monitoring tool. It creates a digital twin of environmental emissions for an organization at a chimney level, at an asset level, and at a global level. And we will continue to release technologies with Microsoft that clients can consume, as well as advisory services that help them achieve their sustainability goals. Now, I spoke about partnerships, and BP are a really good example in their upstream oil and gas business, where they are working with us on a digital asset. We are looking and working with them to reduce their operational expenditure. And in doing so, as we achieve benefits and significant savings for them, we are investing in that journey with them, and we benefit from profitability that is bigger than we would normally get from reimbursable in a gain share model. In terms of personal reflections, I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is our design thinking innovation experience called CoLab, for collaboration and laboratory. We have physical hubs in Europe and in the Americas. And with COVID, we've created a virtual CoLab. So we've digitalized our innovation centers and made those available online. And that's allowing more and more clients and more and more of our own people to engage around innovation in a safe global platform, and focus on some of those client growth objectives, and also solving some of our own challenges. And I'm most proud of that in my time at Wood. In addition to that, I've learned a lot of lessons. It hasn't always been easy. It's been really quite tough, in fact, and one's needed to be really quite resilient. I think there's a fantastic team at Wood, and I'm really privileged to be able to work with a fantastic leadership team. And many of the people we have are great thought leaders. If I was looking back, I would have wished that I'd worked more on my work-life balance. I was so passionate about making change, I probably needed to spend more time looking after my family and myself. COVID has taught us all that we should be traveling less. Another key learning for me was I saw a tsunami of change coming to the organization, and I set about building a dam to prepare for that tsunami. But I don't think the organization always appreciated how broad that dam needed to be. What I would have done from the outset, and I'm doing now, is focus on some discrete towers, build those towers up one by one, and then surreptitiously join them up in phases so that people eventually kind of see vertical progress as well as broad progress. So that would be a key learning for me. I didn't quite appreciate the impact the reimbursable commercial model would have on innovation, not just within our own organization, but in our clients' organizations, and sometimes the way that they award work. I've also noticed that, having come from a tech industry, the culture of timescales is different. So in the tech industry, you tend to work in days, hours, weeks. And in an engineering environment where you're building huge assets, it can be over longer timescales, months and years. It's quite hard to bring those two things together. I would have pushed harder from the outset on more joint leadership, accountabilities, and I looked to really make a distributed hybrid model of matrix management work from the outset that I was familiar with from the tech industry. But having looked back, I would have centralized certain key shared solutions and services at a digital level faster than I did. 3 things to remember for the audience, and thank you for listening to me. My 3 things to remember would be, dream big and be resilient. If it's worth doing, do it well and make sure it makes an impact. Be very focused on value and driving that value out every time. And also, doing any innovation is really, really challenging. It's innovative. It's unproven. So try to focus on those things that you can do that you know, if you do get them right, they have a really big dial-changing impact on the organization. You can scale them, and they have high utility across important parts of your business. And with that in mind, I just want to thank you for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Darren, this was great. This was super useful and interesting. Thanks for being our speaker today, and thanks for sharing the journey and your perspective and the learning about how to scale an innovation program, having the noble cause of building a more sustainable business in a more sustainable world. This was the last session in our CIO story, by the way, and it was the last session of a series of sessions that we hope you like very much. Thanks a lot for staying with us during these days, and enjoy the rest of the symposium.